Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward for Lemon Row BuckIQ, back again with a defensive breakdown. Zach Bourne is back from his wonderful vacation.
We're back and at it.
But he was watching, of course, on Saturday, Ohio State against Minnesota, a 30-14 win for the Buckeyes. Usually you'd think 14 points, that seems like a pretty solid defensive effort, Zach, but I got a feeling that maybe you're not as high on it as some others should be.
No, I don't think a lot of Buckeye Nation is as high on it as they should be. It's one of those things where, again, in the second half, Ohio State came out and held a prolific offense that we've seen from the first half, right, the past couple weeks, and shut them out in the second half. It's something that they need to shore up, though. What they're doing in the second half, they need to do in the first half, and they need to come out with the same game plan and the same adjustments that they come out in the second half and the first half. Otherwise, later on in the season, when, even this week at Purdue, when they go on the road at Michigan State, and that last one against Michigan, it could be some trouble if they get down early in the first half.
Zach, you've been through this before as a player, and if you're without 4 or 5 starters, how much slack do you cut a team and say, hey, this is half of our first team. They're not all going to be next man up playing at the same level.
Doing I really don't. It's kind of that next man up mentality, right? The guys, the starters around, the guys that are filling in have to step up. Someone has to make a big play. We saw it in the second half, right? Some of the corners, some of the safeties started making some plays that they weren't making in the first half. The linebackers were making more plays in the second half they did in the first half. The guys have to step up. Injuries happen. It's not an excuse, right? I mean, Nick Bosa's maybe out for the entire year, but you see Coach Meyer, you see the players, they can't make an excuse for that. Someone has to step up and take control of that defense.
We'll see if they can find that solution on Saturday against Purdue. Right now, as we're always doing here at BuckIQ, we're going to look at some of what went right and what went wrong in that win over Minnesota. So let's roll the tape.
Ibrahim with 2 touchdowns in the first half. They give it to him, and what a play. First down. Mohamed Ibrahim still moving, and he gets inside.
All right, Zach, so there was a lot of discussion about the slants in this game that Minnesota was throwing, but
really, slants?
Yeah, there were.
They threw some. Okay.
Yeah, but if you look at that, I mean, we're going to get to that eventually. But really, I think some of these breakdowns in the rushing game would have to be more concerning to a linebacker like you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it goes back to what we've talked about every single week about just guys not being gap sound. You see from this alignment right here, even though Minnesota played trips to the field and to the boundary, they did this multiple times to Ohio State. The issue is the linebackers are just filling the wrong gaps. When you look at the end zone view here, you see the D line, they are all going to slant to the outside, meaning these 2 linebackers are responsible for the A gap here and the A gap here, which you see them come over and fill. But the issue is you look at their starting alignment. If you go back and look at their starting alignment, they are bossed so far over here. If you know that you're responsible for it's actually the A gap and B gap, you think they would boss over a little bit more to say, hey, I'm going to help to the field. We already know we've got all these, there's a 3rd guy to the boundary, so you got 3 guys just to the boundary. You would think they would boss over a little bit more and it would help out their run fits. If you play the tape now, you'll see them. Borland's got to cover ground over here, and Hilliard's late getting to his assigned gap. If they were bounced over, Hilliard can come, strike down, close this off. And the other thing is these linebackers got to learn to play in tandem. When you are a linebacker, Ryan Shazier was great with this, and this way helped me out. You got to keep the ball in inside zone in between you two. If Hilliard comes down and strikes 64 into this gap and forces the running back into either Borland or the D line, it's no gain.
Yeah.
But what happens is these guys are coming up and getting lost in the sauce a little bit is what they call it, and they're just gaining huge running. I mean, we could all run through that hole. I could run through that hole, and I'm not running back.
I would have at least got 5 yards. Well, we've seen you pick up some yards on that before, Zach. But the way that you're talking about here with Hilliard and Borland filling, is it possible at all that just the RPOs have Ohio State on their heels a little bit? Because if you're identifying run, I would have thought that these 2 guys are both talented enough to get that penetration and stop this play.
Yeah, doing the RPO is a hard thing to stop in college football especially. But the issue is these linebackers, it's run first. Okay. They're run first responsible 100% of the time.
Gotcha.
When you see run, unless it's really Tampa 2, which we're not running much of Tampa 2 at Ohio State, it's more of an NFL scheme. When you see run, you have to play run first, and then you can get back into your pass routes.
Gotcha.
The issue is these guys are just late on getting to their gaps, and they're not being so physical at the point of attack. Hilliard had to come slam this as hard as he could down. Borland's got to scrape on the backside scrape. And then you fill every gap, and 24 has nowhere to run.
And he'll run it. Ibrahim! Oh, he cut it back, picked up the first down.
He looked like he had another opportunity here. This is 3rd and 7. It looked like another play where Ohio State would be able to get off the field, and then he just sneaks through right up the middle.
He does. This is a situation where we've seen the Ohio State linebackers go up to the line of scrimmage so much. You see all 3 guys right here up on the line. The issue is when they're so tight, and we've seen it multiple times this year, they kind of lose that responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. They kind of lose their view of the running back. They can't so much react to him. It happens right like that because the offensive line is on them. Mm-hmm. Well, when you are like this, especially this far up at the line, you're almost acting as another defense tackle, right? You have to go and show your gap. You have to go and be explosive with your hands. I know the linebackers train this all the time in the offseason and do it in practice. You have to strike. And what happens is these guys try jumping around their blocks to try and make a play. What happens is 24 is really patient and ends up splitting them right up the middle. When in this look, Browning's got to go take him on. As you see, he's kind of soft, and the offensive lineman's able to jolt him back. You see Borland flowing way too much over top of the ball. These guys have to come down and almost shoot their gaps and act as defensive linemen. Otherwise, I mean, if you're jumping around blocks, these running backs are really good in the Big Ten and really good in college football. They're going to make you pay.
Yeah, that's part of it too, is that, you're not going to be perfect every week in the Big Ten. These guys have really good coaches too and really good players, but it feels like sometimes there's just pieces missing with the scheme or the execution. I don't know which.
Yeah, do you know what? We've talked about this multiple weeks. I would love to see Ohio State, instead of every 3rd down or every 2nd and long, put the linebackers back. Go back to a zone coverage type defense. Let these linebackers get their reads and play. Instead of having them up on the line of scrimmage and you see them, I mean, those are big offensive linemen, and these linebackers for Ohio State, a lot of them are side-to-side runners. They're not big thumpers. So let them play in some space. Let them see the ball, react to the play. But instead, we're up at the line, and they're almost doing something that they're not used to doing and aren't good at doing.
Yeah.
Anixtad underneath, broken up. Great job by Jeffrey Okuda.
Well, I promised that we would talk about the slants. This is not the field slant that gave Ohio State so much problem. You could tell that the Fox broadcast thought it was coming, but this was a slant that Ohio State did finally break up here, Zach.
It was. For once, right? we thought we'd go crazy looking at this. But this is really good technique from Okuda. Look at that. I mean, he's not even really on his back. Swipes the ball with the left hand. That guys get paid millions of dollars in the NFL to make this play day in and day out.
Right.
And it shows you how good this kid can be. So many people are saying we give up the inside slant. There's just 2 things there's 2 things. One is you need good technique like this, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is you have to take away the guys inside. In man coverage, you have to sit on his inside and be physical with him and force him to bow his route out a little bit. You'll see he actually gets beat a little bit, right? He should be sitting harder on his inside, but he's so good with his technique. The second part of what I'm talking about to defend a slant. So good with technique on using speed in his long arms and long leverage to deflect the pass and have a great pass breakup. But you'll see this down here. Ohio State has to be able to get a guy right here in this defense.
Right.
We cannot on 3rd and 7. We see all the guys up on the line of scrimmage. They have to play some kind of zone coverage, especially this is man back here. This is cover 1. Everyone's manned up with a safety going to the middle of the field. Cover 1, 3rd and 7, you're giving a guy a 7-yard cushion. Like, that is why the field slant is absolutely killing us. Now, you can play this technique if you've got a linebacker sitting right here, sitting on it.
Yeah.
But if Minnesota or any other team, you'll see it a lot this week against Purdue, they go to this slant, it's almost a freebie. And that is, we talked about it against Penn State when they went 93 yards for a touchdown. That is the easiest pass to complete for a quarterback and wide receiver, a slant pass that does not have any defense to the inside.
When you look at, you don't know the exact call here, Zach.
No.
But when you look at what Warner is doing to defend this, and he's leaving this area wide open, he seems to be intent on the run. And he admitted after the game the RPO was giving him problems. What is the challenge? What is the main responsibility here?
Do you know what? I'm thinking right here that Warner's responsible for the running back. He's going to the running back. You see the two other linebackers, I think, are reading it and are one's blitzing and one's responsible for the quarterback. Okay. Right? You almost call it like a green dog type call. Normally that's a term used for the running back, but still in this situation, you still have got a tight end in here. So the linebackers right here are picking up. One's picking up tight end or quarterback, right? Whatever their immediate threat is, and another guy's going to be on the running back. So then you literally have a cover one look up here. You've got man, safety, acting like it's going to be some kind of zone coverage, right? They're trying to show zone, but so many teams scouting us know that we're going to a cover one look, right? So then you'll see the safety bailing to the middle of the field, him kind of, the other safety coming up trying to play man coverage, and that's the issue. But at some point, the Ohio State defense has to say, hey, we are going to show this if we want to show it, and drop back into some kind of zone coverage. Like I've said, cover 8, the old faithful cover 8 that Ohio State has played for so long, we've talked about this, that takes away the inside pass to the field. The Mike linebacker would be sitting right here. You still have got the Sam, star, nickel, whatever you want to call it in this defense. Right now it's a Sam because so much of it's a linebacker play, but you can put a nickel or star in there and play some zone coverage. Give some defenses some other looks instead of giving them easy RPO slants that we've been giving up. Fox is even calling it. Like you said, they're calling it. This is such an easy throw for any kind of quarterback.
And Purdue has the athletes at quarterback, and with Rondale Moore lined up there, that could be a lot of problems for Ohio State on Saturday. We'll see if there are adjustments coming for the Buckeyes this week. A big win on the road. Zach Boren will be breaking that down, win or lose, but they're 13-point favorites, and we'll see if that defense can help back
they are.
that up.
Hopefully. Purdue's a hard place to play. People laugh at that. Purdue is the only team in the Big Ten I do not have a winning record against.
That's hard to believe, but straight from Zach Boren out there, so he knows the challenge. We'll be breaking it down next week at BuckIQ. So for Zach Boren, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next week.